Welcome everyone to an Apple update here live on this channel. You might have realized the other week there was some Apple event with latest and greatest iPhones and the usual stuff, and I wanted to bring here mostly two or a couple of more details to attention. The major takeaways of latest benchmark findings. This is sustained performance of Apple, always bragging about performance, and A12, A13 and so on, and silicon, Apple silicon and so on. And actually turns out, if you benchmark this and look a little bit closer, the sustained performance is actually not as good as you would think. So starting here with some wildlife stress tests, so with 8,000, 7,000, 6,000, 5,000. So yeah, that certainly is quite a bit of a slowdown that maybe most users are not the most aware about. And welcome everyone. And the finding here goes for other phones. This is iPhone SE and iPhone 11 Pro. And just wanted to point this out, especially to those who always think Apple silicon and so on, and what we ourselves find here. So I mean, on one side, it's not the worst thing. That means that if you just do like something for a minute or two, like the usual latest and greatest AR stuff and so on, you get the performance. But yeah, if you're a long-term player, so in all, it's like, yeah, maybe also something that theoretically maybe the Android vendors could or maybe will, or well, some are cheating already anyway. But if they want to compete with Apple, maybe this peak performance for snappy JavaScript compilation and other like a minute or 5 minute long runs. But yeah, so much to that. That is a big takeaway. Probably we don't need to talk that much longer about that. However, when I watched here the general event, also of course now it's reloading, I wanted to point out a couple of things. So one thing is, they changed the design to the design that I actually called out in previous videos to be the one that I prefer the most, meaning here this, and this is just for illustration purposes only. That is obviously, oops, also how many are my camera, there's my camera scenes. So with this flat design, I called this out of iPhone 4, or also of Apple, of innovating and then making it, because why said I previously that in my opinion, with this flat edges, it's so much better in the hands, and with this rounded stuff that, oh, this is the wrong phone, too many phones have the rounded edges that also Samsung, of course, copies here with the Galaxy S10e. The round stuff, not so well, is a case, but you get the idea, it's obviously the same. It is just, in my opinion, more slippery of having just some edge of not having a full straight line in the end. So giving credit where credit is due of Apple, following my recommendations here, obviously most likely the greatest fan of this channel. But that is, so the credit where credit is due, they finally went back to the, my opinion, much cooler, nicer, more rounded rectangle design. However, the rest of the features, if you watch this event, there is basically nothing where I say, well, sure, a lot of gimmicks, but the biggest thing I wanted to point out is, yeah, HomePod. Who needs a bloody don't buy this HomePod stuff. Just get some proper stereo, or just some amp with some speakers that is much more like, or Bluetooth amp with speakers like that works with everything, and not this Apple proprietary stuff. Also cameras. Yes, of course they are not as DSLR. Where obviously a proper camera will always make a magnitude better photos. It's of course advertising stuff. The one thing I find also, does it not load this place? One thing that I find really hilarious is this MagSafe. I really don't like Apple reusing their former marketing names for stuff, because obviously MagSafe, many people do have, I have something relatively, but anyway, you know the MagSafe thing. Totally confusing and annoying then to look for products. You need a spare replacement power supply and you Google for those terms. In my opinion, really, it shows that no attention to detail. In my opinion, they should have called this something else, and not just MagSafe, because this totally confuses everyone, especially product searches if you need replacements. Some other things, So this means it's wireless charging, also wireless charging, only real with wire here, right? Get this? Okay. wired wireless charging. That the full power you only reach with this new magnetic stuff. Of course, Apple being Apple with proprietary stuff, allegedly due to alignment and whatnot, although the official Qi or Qi standard also supports up to 18 watts or something. But of course, Apple being Apple, I think like 8 watts or something with Qi and then 16 or whatever, something of that sort, only with MagSafe, allegedly magnetic alignment of the coils and efficiency and yada yada. But of course, it's just one showing the customers the finger and cashing in some more money. In general, this magnetic stuff, not really sure if that is the very best idea. Some people might still have bank cards with magnetic stripes. I wonder if this will more often than not erase your magnetic cards. Also, some user actually told me or commented, this is Microsoft Surface Touchgate. Here, previous video, that this bloody Surfaces I still have for x86 Linux tablet development. So this touch, obviously, random touches, phantom touches, dead zones. And someone commented, keep magnetics away from it. And well, it could be that some very strong magnet interferes there with something permanently. However, my Surface destroyed itself just sitting on the office table for 98% of the time. But I wonder how much stuff, other accessories, medical or other bank card stripes or other, when gyms, fitness stuff opens, or frequent flight cards or all the other club and whatnot cards, how much stuff is erased. Not really sure if it's that advisable to have strong magnet there and touch that with everything. So from that point of view, feature like 99% of YOLO, whatever, I think I would rather not have it. And if we go further, of course, mostly yada yada, marketing, something. The most features, so some stuff I would be looking for would be better interoperability. Actually, the 2000s with Microsoft's monopoly and Apple regaining strength and the Linux momentum in the 2000s of desktop Linux and Windows XP and stuff, especially the open source and Linux and Mac, and people always interoperability, that with Mac and Linux you can use Windows environments. And Apple is the new Windows interoperability prevention thing right nowadays with this closed ecosystems and apps and accessories. You can't use this with anything else from apps. A lot of apps, even productivity, mostly gimmicks. And this is a time where you spend extremely lots of money for gimmick apps. Some are of course halfway decent, like Pixelmator or stuff. But honestly, who gets real work done on an iPhone or even on an iPad? I rarely see people. Of course, there are exceptions like maybe graphic illustration and like drawing with an Apple Pencil and music stuff. But for most office stuff, sure, you need a keyboard and, well, on an iPad, probably mostly not. What do you want to do on an iPad on this small of a display? It's like, even if you have a larger one, it's like, yeah, writing a Word document and source code in there. Even on an iPad, obviously, for real stuff, you need a keyboard. And that brings me to the last, one of the last things is like pricing. The pricings, of course, hilarious. And they also see the pricings where also Mac Pro placement, obviously, because everyone has this stuff standing around. Yeah, display Dolby Vision, but honestly, the amount of stuff you enjoy, well, certainly better display, always good, but it's like, yeah. Anyway, leave me in the comments below if you find something particularly groundbreaking. I hear some prizes. And the prizes are disgusting. So this is the biggest point here, the biggest takeaway. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Lots of people, business closed. Lots of people lost all their life savings with their business, self-employed or small coffee shop or a gym or all the other, or artists and so on. And Apple has nothing better to do than increase the prices even more. Sure, they have entry level of last year's model, and then whatever, also some mini, because you now need Pro, Max and mini and whatnot. But honestly, the prices, especially with the charger removed, which I didn't even mention, because charger and headsets for the environment, yes, sure, and then putting in a cable that people don't even have a previous Apple charger with a USB-C. So the whole left out chargers. And in my opinion, they should have decreased the prices by $50. That would have been a fair thing, a real Green New Deal from Apple. But this is just showing the users the finger cashing the most profits in while coloring it green. It's like, yeah, that is pure advertising brand speak. But the prices are so disgusting. Even if I would yet say, although I'm totally disgusted with the closed ecosystem, the App Store, the trend of App Store development, of even having to pay a company to be allowed to use my own compiler and release an app for that and stuff from the real bare bones computer scientist. But even say, okay, I had iPhones, I had probably 5 iPhones, the first, the third, 4, 6 or something, and it looks nice, it's designer-like, although it doesn't. The two things I would want is a USB-C and theoretically headphone jack, which, fun fact, my Samsung Galaxy S10e still has, right, and many other Google 4a or whatnot. And in the meantime, I had previously Bluetooth headsets. I now have some other, which probably I should also make a video about. And the other Bluetooth headsets I have also luxury AAA and stuff. The batteries are constantly empty, especially in this particular product. So every other day when at midnight after getting our newborn to bed and stuff and want to watch some other YouTuber's YouTube video, every second day the bloody wireless headset, they are empty. Totally annoying experience, and just underlines what I said previously. But surprising, right? If I would say, okay, some iPhone Pro from, and this is of course the advertising here, right? iPhone 12 Pro, it's like from $999, which yeah, of course is a smaller one because the larger one is even more expensive. And then of course with just 32 megabyte of storage. So if we would choose here an iPhone Pro, and certainly not Pro Max because naming, also the colors, I think the other has black. If I wanted no black, I don't quite get why Apple, well, they need to have here some snowflake colors. Maybe that people who desperately want this color need to have another, I need to get the Pro, but like I would get black, but they don't really have black. So for whatever reason, but now let's get graphite or space gray or whatever they call it this year. And no, I don't have any of this bullshit here, but let's say we have some shit there. And okay, fair enough, it's 128, not 32, but if you would say, okay, a little bit more storage would be nice for the future. Obviously, you pay then always 99 more for not having a charger, not having a headphone, headset. And so the pricing is really disgusting, in my opinion. I would pay, I paid something like 630 for the Samsung S10e, and honestly, pro advice here from a computer scientist, I would not pay more than some 600 for a kind of sort of flagship phone. This pricing is totally obscene, even for me. Sure, I could afford it easily. I can buy a stack of it from my non-existing YouTube AdSense revenue here, or my open source income. Sure, I can also buy a Mac Pro, but for the price of a Mac Pro, I can also buy 2 thread-ripping AMD Ryzens. And this is also what I wanted to call out, right? Other fancy, pretty YouTube influencers of, yay, this is amazing, and buy it. Honestly, I see there are no feature that like would help me on a daily basis run my email business, browse internet better. And even if I would say, sure, I want a premium phone, then the pricing, it's like, yeah, I would, closed ecosystem aside, and I don't find this is a way we should support, and not to mention rights to repair and stuff. Because honestly, why do I have this iPhone SE of my father's on my desk? Is, yeah, of course, this is why. You buy a fancy phone and then you even need Apple Care Plus something. I'm not even sure. Is the display swap free with Apple Care Plus? Anyway, yeah, because sooner or later, obviously each can also get this in focus. Probably I need a camera assistant of probably, anyway, get the idea. Because sooner or later, all of your fancy iPhones look like this. And fun fact I have here, I have right now 3 iPhones that look like this on my desk. The one of my father, iPhone SE, it only takes 1 drop, right? This is amazing iPhone quality from Apple from 2019. My girl's, what does she even have? iPhone 7 or so, which I think it's actually, fun fact, the same display. I googled this the other day, I've not yet ordered them. And I have my aging iPhone 6s, which I still used as a backup phone. I also dropped it once in an elevator, at home in an elevator, and it even has some PCB floor, this elevator, so it even dropped not on stone or something, it dropped like once on a freaking PCB kind of wipeable floor of an elevator, and it also shattered in 1,000 pieces. So yeah, I think ironically maybe all of the three displays might even be the same. iPhone S, iPhone 6s and iPhone 7 might be the same display. At least it looked on a first glance like this. But anyway, this price is disgusting. And last but not least, I had this here already open. You get a full laptop for this, right? And this is I want to spread awareness. I'm not here sold out influencer stuff. You probably noticed this, but if you critically think about this, like with common sense, then for the price of such a luxury good of where you can't even really get work done with iPhone, you get a whole freaking PC, right? And even a good one. I mean, even like a T490 ThinkPad was starting at $749 and stuff, plus tax obviously in the US. So yeah, for this price, even T14, sure, some stuff like X1 Extreme Gen 8 and whatnot, certainly. But yeah, I mean, X1 Carbon Gen 8, it's like, yeah, that is a freaking, also you see this only partially. This is a freaking iPhone Pro Max, for God's sake. And on a laptop, you actually get work done. Try to write your university, your master thesis, your homework on a freaking iPhone. And the same goes for the iPad. I looked into, should I, for just answering my customer emails and reading my son a bedtime story, should I get an iPad? And the prices were similar disgusting. If you don't buy an entry-level thing, sure, there's this entry-level thing for the people who desperately need an Apple product, but don't want to spend more money like ourselves. Then also, why is this iPad? Do we need to? We need to click it differently, I think. So yeah, if you don't take the cheapest one, like the prices, and you are then in real ThinkPad territory of, even if you take like 11s, sure, this Pro stuff is always Pro, but also space gray. Also, yeah, it's graphite at the iPhone, here it's space gray because color naming. But there's even the, or yeah, $799 for this Pro thing. I mean, ironically, you get a freaking larger, this is also last but not least, or one more thing, you get a freaking Pro iPad for, alright, this is not even the cellular version. Yeah, you get, but yeah, anyway, a freaking much larger display and battery. iPad costs this similar amount like a Pro iPhone. It's like, what? Can't make this stuff up. The story, the joke writes themselves. And a fun fact, so the thing is, of course, all the 2 or 3 iPads I had in my life, all of them I got with cellular for the pure reason that, pro tip, many people don't know, that the Wi-Fi version doesn't have GPS, and this is also iPhones is always disgusting, already a decade ago, and otherwise you only get like Wi-Fi triangulation. At least it was like that some years ago. I guess it's still the same. So for that reason, I always overpaid. I nearly never actually used the cellular stuff, so I always overpaid for the cellular nonsense. Just, and yeah, this is also Apple maximizing profits. They certainly have very clever people there and build the SKUs and features exactly so that they get another, how much is it, $799, so another 200 bucks just for cellular that a lot of people don't use and could share the data plan with an iPhone. Yet, yeah, just for GPS. We could theoretically click here on tech specs and see if this still is the case. GPS, location, all models. So yeah, this is still the same. So you still need, this is really disgusting and no excuse that they can't put in there a $2 or $5 GPS, GLONASS, whatever, Galileo and whatnot, satellite, SatNav receiver in there. And yeah, this, in my opinion, this is extremely not having the cellular only, but cellular plus GPS, which they never clearly indicated. And I know, actually, fun fact, I know a lot of people, so many people, friends and family and stuff, complain, and like you at the trade show and stuff where you talk, and so many people are disappointed, didn't know that. And this is a pure rip-off, this setup there, and also something very few people talk about. But hey, you get a LiDAR scanner, you can't do sat-nav proper, but hey, at least you get a LiDAR scanner, probably because that is a feature that so many people use all day, probably for faster autofocus and measuring your room while decorating. Anyway, that is just some summary, mostly the throttling, maybe something, and this might not even be the worst thing for the users. I mostly wanted to present this news here, and maybe something that Android vendors maybe should copy of more aggressive turbo boosting. They're similar to Intel, and like basically Intel AVX2 and not AVX, low tier of turbo boosting, single core boosting, because that is certainly something that could, for the end user, not even saying this is totally evil, just that you know, but again, as I said in the very beginning, could even be improving the user experience for a lot of users, for more snappy browsing YouTube to find our videos and other like gaming for 5 or 10 minutes. Although I don't really, well, certainly kids who else games all day on the iPhone, but on the other hand, if you game 5 minutes and then it starts to stutter, or you get 60 frames and then you get 40. But anyway, leave in the comments below, are you a smartphone gamer, or what are your comments for all the other stuff in between? But yeah, honestly, to summarize, in my opinion, smartphones should not cost more than some high-end models like 600. 600 is already the territory of entry-level, or well, you certainly get entry-level at like, well, totally crappy 200, 300, 400. This is hilarious, right? We reached a day and age where fancy smartphones, where you can get barely nothing done, is cost more than a full laptop. Anyway, let's see what you commented. Virtual machine use Android apps slow them down a lot. I think nowadays I have not yet truly analyzed this, but this is ahead of time with ARCs. It should be Android. It's not like Dalvik anymore. Art ahead of time or something, and then a lot of games and other stuff has native components. So I think this should be doing ahead of time, so that should theoretically not really slowing it that much down. And yeah, Marco finds it amazing that Xiaomi tries to create 80-watt wireless phone chargers to set phones on fire also. And iPhone prices in France, all of Europe, very high. Yeah, I saw, yeah, same in Germany. I said this a long time ago, even before I made YouTube. EU rip off. Of course, the exchange rate actually right now, what is the exchange rate right now? I think the dollar became even weaker, right? Oh, this is not the right click I wanted to. Where would this be? Apple, iPhone. I had a blog post about that a couple of years ago. Maybe, where would that be? Here, maybe no. Okay, let's find if our own. It can be searched for two terms. But yeah, basically, he continues to overcharge EU customers, so that was already 2017, 3 years ago. And of course, today, although we were approaching 0. What did we have? 0.10. Now we are we are back at 115-ish. Who Finance, and raise your finger who's still using Yahoo Finance for. Oh, we're back to A13. Whoa, with this president. So this means €1 is, so US dollar became weaker. That probably must be the amazing master tweeter-in-chief of Orange Geniusy of totally strengthening the US dollar worldwide. So yeah, we are back to this level. So this is again quite valid. I understand exchange rate can fluctuate, but there is nothing like overcharging European customers 150 euro on an iPhone, or what is it, 15% or so, depending on the... Yeah, so this is ridiculous. Additionally, on top of this, it's just disgusting. And giving USB-C to Lightning cable in the box, slap in the face, only people, Apple, yeah. And this also, like other people said, that a lot of people sell their phone because if they keep it in good shape, they still get quite some money for that, and then they certainly sell the charger and cable with it. And yeah, thanks for the congratulations. HDMI over Type-C would be great. Apple supports HDMI. Well, this stuff doesn't have natively USB-C, right? So Apple supports this with the AV adapter over their Lightning, and this is running a full ARM SoC and running a full Darwin kernel. Let's see, a little thread about would this be this or something else? John, not sure. Yeah, anyway, just that you know, this runs yeah, run maybe this Hackaday, maybe this is somewhat usable. So this is what this, so Apple probably still only supports this, I guess. Of course, you need an additional dongle, whatever that is. Price-wise, Lightning collector teardown of, this also leads us to Twitter. Is it, this is the same. Fair enough. So yeah, this runs kind of iOS and is actually re-encoding your video over USB, and in case you ever wondered, that is also a thing. And Marco says what's more important is US government wants to split Chrome from Google. It's actually an important topic. Yeah, maybe we could, but yeah, we could make this whole video, but maybe just regular IT news. Citizen, so sorry for mispronouncing that, is tempted with the Pixel 5 629. Yes, this is exactly, as I said, 629 is exactly right for Samsung Galaxy S10e, which due to the nature of the stress folio already dropped a couple of times. At least the freaking display still survives. The glass black already suffered. This is why I have some case around this, because my glass black, yeah, 2020, your freaking glass back of the Android phone is broken, but not the display. But well, thankfully, although the Samsung spare part is like 50 euro officially, something, so it's like a proper case. It's broken behind this, or whatever. I personally looked at the Pixel, what is it, 5a or whatever that is. Is it 5a? I think the 5 doesn't have a headphone jack, and given the state that, or is it 5a or maybe it's 5a, or is it 4a? I lose overview with. Okay, the 4a was just released. I wonder if this has still a headphone jack, because honestly, this with traveling and Bluetooth batteries being empty, I would honestly not buy something without proper headphone jack anymore, because life is just too annoying to constantly have to look for something you can plug in there. And yeah. Citizen writes Ryzen ThinkPad T14S the other day, and it was great with the exception of the screen, which with all problems whenever even the high-end screens are kind of meh. Yeah, so for me the high-end screens were kind of okay. Someone commented in, I made this short video regarding the X1 Nano of being finally 16:10, and someone commented there, not sure if that is legit or pure speculation or rumors. So one viewer commented that they heard the next X1 Carbon of next year might be 16:10. I probably personally wait for that and see, as per usual. But they also see companies, right? Lenovo, if you want to get stuff moving and selling, then listen to the users. Users want screen real estate, and otherwise they just wait with their old gear until you deliver. What else stupid? The new iPads are stupid expensive. Yeah, and the point is, why did I show the iPad Pro? Honestly, if I would get some iPad now to do some stuff like answering an email, but even then, honestly, like typing on a display, you usually see me typing it quite fast, and typing on a touch display is significantly slower. And leave in the comments below what you think. So productivity-wise, even if you say, okay, on an iPad you can get much more done than on an iPhone, I would still argue that if you are a heavy typer and really need to get some text done, be it emails, spreadsheets, Word documents, whatever your workflow might be, this touch typing experience usually might be a magnitude slower. If you are an extremely switched on touch typer, maybe you can type half as fast like on a Real keyboard, but leave in the comments below what you think to that. And yeah, Marco also writes, other alternative OSs than Android, and it totally there. Also tried here this Googled Chromium. I will also continue with that. Certainly from my point of view, this is of course the frustration, right? I run a Linux distribution for 20 years and yet, except here the PinePhone, do we have the docking cable here long enough with some performance applications, but for computer scientists like myself and others who run a Linux distribution or contribute to something, it's of course somewhat frustrating that 20, 30 years later into Linux and open source, we have an Android or iOS ecosystem where Android even is using Linux, but you can't, like unless you custom ROM there, don't have your really free to your own use operating system. It's, yeah. Anyway, what other things did I miss? That's probably reaching the end of the comments. Let's see if we find here something else noteworthy. Might Will writes, Alt mode Type-C to HDMI allows detection of resolution changes for GPU, and your phone work screen becomes full desktop as a desktop computer. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm so thrilled from Marco here donating this PinePhone. Although the performance is of course not state of the art, but yet allows me not only to test ARM64 T2 Linux, but also soon work on some more interesting microkernel and UI stuff. And this is also what I tested with the Samsung Galaxy DeX thing of desktop experience the other year, except of course the big companies like Samsung still don't getting stuff right, like needing to run it so isolated that you can't have GPU acceleration in this Samsung DeX stuff. And then they wonder that people don't use it and discontinued it, when I would have used it daily if the UI performance wouldn't be so meh. And then also native resolution, it didn't really support many but not all, and this was at times a little bit blurry. I think maybe it did full HD but not 1920 by 1200, and then it sometimes worked and not with this display. And yeah, but anyway, I would totally agree with this concept, which is also why I tried it already and working on it. Anyway, these are findings here. All in all, not impressed. The only things I would be looking forward to is Apple really opening this stuff up. But given that nowadays Apple is not really a technology and innovating their S company, but mostly marketing and collecting the most dollars from the users. Because in my opinion, what I would want to see with iOS and Android is much better interoperability, and not this iOS file nonsense, and that you can just get without proprietary Apple iCloud file app stuff, get files on and off your phone and iPad. And that is certainly something Apple might not do for another 5 or 10 years. And with the merging of macOS and iOS in the same direction, meeting somewhere in the middle, so far it only looks like they will make macOS more limited, especially on ARM Macs to come. And in general, that is a really depressive move in computing, after freeing ourselves somewhat from the Microsoft monopoly and now finding us in a even more locked down Apple and questionable privacy Android sphere, and certainly the year of desktop Linux still to come. But that's it for this video. Leave in the comments below what you think, and I hope you learned some details. If it just said this precious high-performance Apple Silicon throttles more than previously thought, and that non-cellular iPads don't have GPS, sat-nav, satellite navigation, or some other details in between. And I hope to see you soon for the next videos and live streams to come.